Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here at Parshas Emor. Parshas Emor has one of the most strange and difficult parshas at the end, which is a sad story, a difficult story to understand. But there's, I believe, a tremendous lesson from this story. At the end of Parshas Emor is the parsha of the mekalel, the megadef, the one who pronounced Hashem's name and gave a curse. Kilu, he cursed Hashem. And this person was punished very severely, and he was punished with chiyuv misa. And the question really is over here, what happened over here? Why did this person do that? Why would a person do this? So if you look in the Rashi here on the Parshas to describe what happened, this man, as the pasuk says, was a ben ish Mitzri. He was the son of, his father was not Jewish. His father was a goy, an Egyptian. And his mother was Shloimeh bas Divri from Shevet Don. His mother was Jewish. This is the only place that we find such a child, a person who was born from a intermarriage, even though they weren't married, obviously, but a situation where a woman was taken advantage of, a Jewish woman was taken advantage of by a Mitzri, and they had a child. And this is the only place in the entire Torah, and in fact, the only place in all of Klal Yisrael that they were in Mitzrayim, that this happened. This child must not have grown up in a very normal setting if this is who his parents were. That Mitzri, Chazal tell us, was the Mitzri that Moshe Rabbeinu killed when he said the name of Hashem, when that Mitzri was beating the Jew. Moshe Rabbeinu killed this Mitzri, which means, assuming with Shitas Rashi over there in Parshas Shemois, Moshe was about 20 years old at the time. That means for the last 60 years, there was no father. He didn't have a father. And he grew up, and he wants, as Rashi says in this week's parsha, he wants to settle in Shevet Don. Why? Because his mother comes from Don. So because his mother comes from Don, he wants to move into Shevet Don, and he moves in, and there becomes a machlokes. There's somebody there in Shevet Don that says, you don't belong here. The only people here in from Shevet Don, they don't want him to settle in Shevet Don. Why? Because Chazal teach us, really, it's from the pasuk later on in Parshas Bamidbar and also that every Shevet lived on their own. They were each in their own community. And it went based on the father. The lineage of what Shevet a person comes from his father. Just like nowadays, you're a Kohen because your father's a Kohen, you're a Levi because your father's a Levi. So too, every Shevet was like that. And therefore, in Shevet Don, only the people whose lineage through the father was from Shevet Don settled there. So comes this man, he wants to live in Shevet Don. Why? Because his mother's from Don. So there's a big machlokes. And they go to Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, they're right. Only from the father's side. That's how it goes. And therefore, he was thrown out of Shevet Don. And then he cursed. Now you have to imagine for a second. This man probably did not have the easiest life. He knows that his father is a Mitzri, and he's been kicked around, and they don't even give him a place to live. Where's he supposed to go? He doesn't have anything to do. Can you blame somebody like that for what he did? Is it possible? But yet, the Rashi here in pasuk dalet, in Perek Chav dalet, pasuk dalet, on the words es yadeihem, the pasuk says, the ones who heard him do this, they should put their hands on his head, and then they shall stone him. And on that, Rashi says, oimrim loi, they say to him, damcha b'roshecha, your blood is on your hands. Ve'ein anu ne'enoshim, we are not going to be punished b'mitascha, for your death, sha'ata garamta lach, because you caused it to yourself. Seems pretty harsh. This person had a very, very difficult life. What drove him to do something like this was how difficult he had, and yet we're blaming him himself for it. It seems a little bit cruel, but the truth of the matter is that this is not cruel per se. It's actually a big chizuk. Why? Because people need to know, and this is a problem that we have in the world today, that we make excuses why it's okay if a person committed a crime, why somebody did something wrong, but you know what? He had such a difficult upbringing, and you give a million excuses, and that's why it's okay that he committed a crime, and because of that, he never receives the punishment that he needs in order to correct. A person needs to understand it's in your hands. No matter what happens, no matter how difficult things are, it's always in your hands to make the right choices in life. There are many, many stories of people with difficult lives who are able to pick themselves up, who are able to learn, to see, and to know how to change and how to improve their lives and to overcome. The classic rags to riches story that abound. It is possible. You don't have to be stuck in your situation. I'm terrible, things are bad, and because of that, I'm going to stay there. Rashi here is coming to tell you, no matter how difficult things are, it's in your hands. You have the ability to rise up. Yes, your circumstances aren't necessarily in your hands. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives each and every person their individual circumstances that is meant for their neshama, that they need for their tikkun, their specific mission that they have in their life. But now it's up to you to decide, what are you going to do with those circumstances? Are you going to rise above it, or are you going to be stuck in it? It's in your hands. This is one of the most empowering messages that a person can have. You do have free choice. No matter how difficult life is, you do have free choice. You can decide to live. You can decide to overcome. Yes, true, maybe you'll need help. It's true that if you may not be able to do it on your own, but searching out for help is HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends as well. If a person really is honestly looking for it, then a person will find the help that they want. It's a question of your choice, of your desire. This is what we see from this parsha and what from Rashi says on this week's parsha, that a person always has the ability to choose. He has the power of Bechira to choose between good and bad and do the right thing and do the wrong thing, regardless of the difficulties that he had before, and he can overcome. We should use this message to empower us, no matter how difficult things are, no matter where we find ourselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always gives us the power to turn around, to do tshuva, to choose good. Take advantage. Good Shabbos.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.